If a little green is good, more is even better. Now, back to Green is Good with John Shegerian and Mike Brady.
Welcome back to Green is Good, and we're so excited and honored to have as our second guest today, Matt Delnick. He's the CEO of Greenstar Recycling. Welcome to Green is Good, Matt Delnick.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Hey, Matt, your firm, Mike and I, the last hour, have been on your website and looking at all the great things you're doing across America. Tell us a little bit about Greenstar Recycling and how it even got started.
Yeah, we arrived here in the U.S. in March of 2007. Greenstar, actually, as a brand, began in the U.K. and Ireland.
Oh.
Was there for quite a period of time, and then was launched in March of 2007 here in North America, headquartered here in Houston, Texas, with a footprint throughout North America. So we are a pure recycler, which we're a little bit different than when we started in Greenstar Ireland and Greenstar UK, which are fully integrated waste companies. So here in the United States, we're 100% recycling. But we started in 2007, have 15 processing sites in North America right now. Have a national sales and managed service network that spans from coast to coast, over 10,000 locations served. Have a large brokerage group that we broker all our commodities, all our material marketing out of, and we've had a lot of success in our first 4 years, and looking for much more.
That is awesome. So we've got listeners not only coast to coast, but we got listeners all around the world on the Clear Channel Radio Network. And then after the show airs, it goes to the iTunes network. Tell us a little bit about, so you started in Ireland and UK. You've come over to America. Recycling is like such an easy thing for all of us to do, to be part of the green revolution and be part of the solution. What type of recycling materials do you recycle? What's your core business?
Yeah, our core business revolves primarily around residential and commercial recycling. So, our main paper grades, cardboard, plastic, aluminum, steel, and glass. We focus primarily in that area at this time.
Gotcha. And so how do you do it? Like, how does your system work? Every company has a different type of system. How does your system work in terms of fostering and encouraging people to recycling in the communities you serve? And how do you then collect it?
Yeah, we try to get at a grassroots level is usually how we try to start our program. So we're big on the education side, and we're big on finding communities that are firmly committed to sustainability, and that's what most of our research goes into. We have, if you look across our footprint in North America, we have large single-stream facilities. Our facility in San Antonio's the fourth largest in the country. Our facility in Dallas isn't far behind that, but we also have smaller dual stream or commercial facilities throughout the United States as well. And so we would, if you looked across our footprint, our sites would be very different. We are not a hauler, and so other than some commercial work in some markets, we are never a hauler of the material. So we are partnered with either national haulers or regional haulers around the country who bring us the material. So we really try to stay pure to the processing of the recyclables. We don't have landfills, we don't have mills, we won't have landfills, we won't have mills, and we do not haul. So we really try to stay pure to our philosophy, which is want to be the biggest and best recycler processor in the country. We want to have a strong brokerage arm. We want to have a strong managed service network, and we really want to stick to those things. And so we do everything, to answer your question, from large single-stream facilities to medium-sized and small dual-stream and commercial facilities.
So you're the good guys. You're the guys helping us recycle more material. You're the real urban miners of the modern-day green revolution.
Yes.
Keep the stuff above ground, recycle it appropriately, keep it out from the landfills, and everybody wins.
Absolutely.
Got it. Are you the leading company in recycling also in Ireland and UK where you have your roots?
Correct.
Gotcha. So now come to America, do the same thing here. So Matt, walk me through this a little bit. If the average American throws away 4.3 pounds of waste, and right now 54% of it approximately gets landfilled, and 33% of it gets recycled, and 13% of it gets incinerated, the trends and statistics show that over the next 10 years, we're supposed to go inverse there, that 54% of it should get recycled instead of landfilled, and landfill should go to 33%, and incineration should stay the same. Is that how you see the world, and are you going to then lead us as a country towards those numbers?
Yeah, we would probably push it a little bit farther. Our belief is probably 85+% of what you and I are throwing away today should be going to recycling of some sort, and the rest to landfill or other uses. So there are examples of that not only in Europe and in countries that are further along in recycling than the United States is, but right here in the United States, there's examples of cities that are well past the 50% mark on what they're recycling, and so our barometer we're at is a lot higher than that. We believe that from a sustainability standpoint, recycling should be at the core of the efforts. It's often left out right now in conversations in North America. It has an immediate impact on the environment that most people don't understand. That a program like San Antonio can be the equivalent of taking emissions equivalent, a reduction of taking 130,000 cars a year off the streets of San Antonio. And so from us, from our standpoint, what's missing here in the United States at this time is a really, really strong educational message around the impact of it, both environmentally and economically. But we believe the numbers are much larger than what you spoke about and what we hear in general spoke about, and we spoke about at the United Nations recently, that we really need to raise the bar. We need to raise it at the local level, a grassroots level, because it's not getting national exposure right now. It's not getting national legislation that's going to mandate it. We understand that as an organization, but we take that as a challenge as an organization to say, okay, then this effort starts at the grassroots level, and so that's where GreenStar focuses its efforts.
Well, that's fascinating. So that's why we have you on the show today to message. So we're going to talk about San Antonio, of course. We want to talk about the great work you've done there, amazing work you've done there. Talk little bit about, to our listeners out there, both young and old who listen, not only across the United States but across the world, why recycle? Explain, walk us through. For this is the United Nations today, and you're speaking. Why recycle? What are the benefits, and why is it important to recycle?
Yeah, I think we try to sell a two-pronged message. First of all, environmentally, every one of us should be recycling, and I'll talk about the reasons for that. And then the other part of our message on a regular basis is that it is economically viable and sustainable too if the private and public partnerships are working properly together, and we've proved that in San Antonio. We've proved that in every city that we're operating in right now. And so, but from an environmental standpoint, if you look at any statistics that the EPA puts out, the immediate impact that can happen through recycling is huge. And really, what you're doing is probably three things. Mainly, you're reducing landfill emissions because much more space is being preserved in landfills. A city like San Antonio, as an example, again, is now diverting 100,000 tons a year of waste away from landfills. Well, that's going to have an immediate environmental impact on what's not going into the landfill. Your energy consumption is reduced greatly when you recycle, because the reuse of materials, instead of using virgin materials in paper or plastic or aluminum and so forth, you're greatly saving energy consumption, and that's an immediate impact on the environment. Natural resources are preserved. Greenhouse gas emissions are reduced greatly when you do these types of programs. And so probably what's lost sometimes, that the benefits of recycling are right up there with hybrid cars and a clinker substitution by fly ash and cement, and all those types of things that probably in North America get a lot more time, whether it's on the airwaves or in print. Recycling is right there with those on what it can produce for the environment. And so, and the next stage of that always for us is the economic impact, and what cities realize when they're partnered correctly with the right private partner who has the goals of the environment at hand and making sure that economically it works for the city and for the private businesses. What a city like San Antonio finds out is that they can get millions of dollars in revenue out of the program, in addition to avoiding landfills. And so it's really, to us, always a two-pronged message that both of those things can happen, and it really comes down to the commitment of the city, of the private partner, and then the education that's done.
So truly, the first message is, hey, we should all be recycling. We all have to be part of the solution here, and then you educate with regards to that. The second part, just like the issues of sustainability, people, planet, and profits, is, hey, Mr. City Manager or Mr. Mayor, there's a profit motive here for you as the city goes.
Yeah, there's a revenue stream that can be generated with the right programs, and that's probably the message that for a long time by folks for decades in the U.S. is the opposite message has been given, that when you recycle, it's going to cost you more money, and it's just not true.
Got it.
The reality is it's not true.
Matt, so why don't you walk us through then a great example like your great work and amazing work you're doing in San Antonio and other cities that you service across the country?
Yeah, San Antonio is a perfect example to start with because it was really a grassroots effort. It started, as with many cities that want to begin recycling programs and be strong, and it always starts with a sporadic program throughout the city. Maybe it's subscription, maybe it's dual stream, maybe it's whatever they can, drop-off centers, whatever they can do, and then that city gets some momentum behind it to say, look, we want to be bigger than this when it comes to recycling. We want to do more. We want to find the right partner. We want to do this, especially the right partner is very important at this point in time in the U.S. with so many budgetary limitations that the cities face. And so for us, we had the great opportunity to partner with San Antonio, and where it began, I always tell folks that it began at the commitment of the city of San Antonio, from Mayor Castro all the way down to the solid waste department and David McCrary's team, and then all the way out into the citizens. There was a commitment around what the city was trying to do. Then there's an education component. The education component needs to start well in advance of the program actually beginning. It needs to continue throughout the program. It needs to be robust. Why are we doing it? What are we doing? What's recyclable? What isn't recyclable? The cleaner that stream is when it comes to the recycler, the better it is for the city and for the residents and what they'll gain from it financially and in the environment. And then it's really about someone like Greenstar saying, look, I'm willing to put $18 million into building a facility in your city on our capital investment to bring recycling to the forefront of what San Antonio is trying to do. And then it's a matter of those two parties working together. And San Antonio, City of San Antonio, and us have a very close relationship throughout the process. Regular dialogue. How do we improve the program? Where does it go next? What do we do? That really in San Antonio has now led past the single stream residential program, which was rolled out, and now that's getting into multi-tenant single stream, and it's getting into commercial single stream, and to have that aggressive a path when really you just started this, just over a couple years ago, that's a very aggressive stance for a city to take, to really go from residential single stream to roll it out to all the other areas of the city in that short a time frame and get the right private partners behind it. And so, the things you keep hearing me saying there are commitment and education, and where programs aren't successful, in the United States and around the world, is where you don't have commitment from one side or the other, or maybe both sides. And to answer the second part of that question, that's what we look for around the country. The cities we're in, whether it's Des Moines and Pittsburgh and Allentown, Pennsylvania, and Dallas, Texas, and Fort Worth, Texas, we look for communities that are committed to it, because you got to have that commitment. And when you have the commitment in the communities, then it's up to the private partner to step up and play a major role, which is what's happened in San Antonio. So San Antonio, as a result, has gone from 40,000, 20,000 tons a month recyclable in 2006, 20,000 up to nearly 100,000 tons a year now. And when you have those types of rate increases, that shows you the commitment. And then through that time, and even during the commodity collapse of the late 2008s and early 2009s, the city had a net revenue to the city each and every year, sometimes maybe as low as just over $1 million, but sometimes as high as almost $4 million. And so there's an economic impact that's shown to the residents, and it helps the city.
Well, it does seem, Matt, that if $18 million is a typical startup to bring a GreenStar Recycling facility into a community, number one, there's going to be an infusion of jobs as well as cash into the city coffers, and then the tax revenue for the city as well. It seems like this is something that can not only save the city government money at the end of the year, but also create some income for the city right from the outset. It just seems like the smart thing for any city manager or city council to look at and to implement.
Yeah, nearly 150 jobs, new green jobs created in the city of San Antonio. With that launch, too, we just created 50 new green jobs here in Houston with our new facility here in Houston. So you're absolutely right. The economic impact, the jobs that are created, what that does from new business in the city, and then, of course, first and foremost, what's going to benefit the livability of the city by what you're doing to improve the environment. Recycling programs should be everywhere, and sadly enough for us in the United States, it's growing. It certainly is, but if you really strip out, yard waste and compost, you get down to when you're talking about residential, commercial, what's really being recycled. We always say we would be surprised if that's even barely above 10%. And so, it just to answer the question earlier, when you're talking about maybe at 10, and you should be at close to 80. Long way to go, and we have too many large cities that really have no substantial recycling programs at all right now, and so that's why GreenStar is here.
Well, that's why you're here, because you just talked about the 70% massive opportunity between the 10 what you say we're doing and the 80 what we should be doing. That's the GreenStar opportunity.
Correct.
Hey, so speaking of GreenStar opportunity, for our listeners who just tuned in, or you're in front of your iPad, laptop, desktop, or somewhere where you have some visibility here, we're so lucky today to have Matt Delnick on with us. He's the CEO of Greenstar Recycling. Look at his great website. We're on it right now. It's www.greenstarrecycling.com. Matt, all these cities from Allentown to Tulsa to Houston to Dallas, Oklahoma, Des Moines, Iowa, Fort Worth, San Antonio, Atlanta, you're all over right now. How big can this grow? I mean, I'm looking at the country here on your map, on your great website. What's next for you guys in terms of expansions and more cities and things of that such?
Yeah, well, to be honest, we're fairly tuned in to the locations we're in, because even when you look at the great success of a program in San Antonio or Dallas or Austin, the different programs that we built, even when you get to the volumes and stuff that we talked about earlier, you're still maybe looking at a 25-30% set out rate. And so even though you've either mandated a program or rolled a program out that really becomes successful and has all the benefits we just talked about, we're still not to the rates even within those cities that we should get to say that Matt Delnick has a recycling can, but he's not using it. So it's getting everyone in the community to use the can. The city of San Antonio, as an example, has another 40 or 50% just in single stream residential program that they want to increase, which tells you that even though the program is very successful, it has a long way to go just within the program that's already rolled out. And so really what we focus on, to be honest with you, we're very keen on knowing the cities we're in, knowing the shortfall of the cities at this point. In other words, what should the recycling rate be there? And but we certainly have expansion plans. We have 4 cities right now that we're trying to work with to start programs where there are no programs. Very large cities.
Right.
And so, but really, what can never be lost is that within the cities that, whether it's me or one of my competitors that we're in, you still have to push the recycling rates all the way up to where they should be, because the success of the program should never stop. It's got to get all the way up to the rates that you need to get to.
That's so interesting. So even though, of course, you're going to expand, you want to keep, of course, raising the bar in all the cities you're in, and make sure that all the rates get up to the numbers that they need to be, both for the city's sake, our environment's sake, and for GreenStar's sake.
Yeah, it would very, very easy to look at the program in Des Moines, or the program in Pittsburgh, or the program in San Antonio, and say, man, those are great results. But the reality is you probably still only have, in the end, maybe a 20 or 25% participation in those cities. So you still have, 70 to 80% of the people that still are not fully participating. And so the growth within these markets, including San Antonio, is still there beyond all the other things with multi-tenant and commercial and all the other wonderful things that you can do in the city.
That is so interesting. There's a lot of your information and knowledge base when you're making decisions to both educate and encourage folks in the cities that you service to recycle, but also when you're looking at new cities to move into. Does a lot of it come from the historical information you've learned and gathered from your success in Ireland and in the UK?
We certainly, from a grassroots effort and how you go about getting the momentum behind the program, we certainly took a lot of gains away from what those groups had gone through, and then what we've done here to kind of build on that is really try to have as much many conversations with the many municipalities all around the country to find out where the commitment is. What are the communities that are truly committed to building a program? And we've been very fortunate to partner with some outstanding communities that are very committed to it. But really, that's the piece we've tried to build on to what we've already learned is, okay, take what we've learned and now let's go find where the commitment's at, and that's the ongoing challenge that we have every single day, is to go find the next group of cities that are committed. And
not only the cities that are committed, we're down to the last 4 minutes or so, but I want you to also share, because part of what we do with this show, Matt, and what we ask our guests to do is help empower our listeners where they are, wherever they are, to get involved, whatever that means, because everyone can be part of the solution here. So how can our listeners encourage our local leaders or government officials to initiate a recycling program and to get GreenStar to their city?
Absolutely. We actually work directly with citizens to do exactly what you're saying, and that is really put together petitions, to put together movements to take to their local councils to say, this is what we want to do, and we want a recycling program. Here's the type of recycling program we want. Here's how we want to grow the program, and really at a grassroots level, go to their local politicians, which is typically their city councils or their mayors, and say, why aren't we recycling? Here's a petition of 400 people in this area that want a recycling program, and in most cities, if they have that kind of grassroots effort, coming to the councils, they will respond. And so, our sponsorship with the Houston Dynamo, to be quite honest, that's a very large part of it, is to have the message of recycling out there for as many citizens in North America to see, and then to use that message to then go into the local communities and say, here's how you can go about getting a recycling program done in your city. And we actually assist people from start to finish on doing exactly that.
So how do we encourage our listeners? Do they go on your website and email someone from the website, or do they call into GreenStar Recycling? How do we encourage our listeners to get empowered and actually take action after they've listened to this show?
Yeah, they can do any of those things. There's links in the website where they can contact someone directly via email. The numbers of all of our locations are out there. If they're in and around our locations and they don't have a program, they can certainly call directly into that location, and our local general managers can absolutely help with them and they can call into our national sales folks and do the same type of thing. So a lot of different ways through our website to get right to the people that you need to get to in order to get the assistance in getting our striking program rolled out.
That's awesome. Matt, we're down to the last 2 minutes or so, and we get a lot of emails, Mike and I do, about how do we become the next Matt Delnick. Tell us a little bit in the last couple minutes. Share some pearls of wisdom of your journey and what you can share with our students out there that want to really be the next leaders and run the next GreenStar Recycling or other companies like GreenStar Recycling.
Yeah, we talk a lot at GreenStar and other places I've been. We talk a lot about passion. I mean, you really want to find what it is you're passionate about. Sometimes that's a business for some people, and sometimes it's not. But I think what we have at GreenStar that we talk about a lot to answer that question is: are you passionate about what you're doing? And then, when you're passionate about what you're doing, are you doing the right due diligence, and are you doing the right research, and are you doing the right all the right things to then drive whatever your business is that you want to drive? And for us, we've got a body of people that are 100% around the power of recycling and what that means and what it needs to be in North America. We're very diligent about making sure that we stay true to the message and what the importance of recycling is, and we're very passionate about it. It's what we want to do. It's why everyone's here. So my main message to everyone is that you have to be passionate about it, and then you got to go about the right path about making yourself successful when you do that. But to me, it all starts with what motivates you and what you're passionate about.
Matt, you're just amazing. We're big. Mike and I are now passionate about GreenStar Recycling. For our listeners out there, please go to Matt's great website, greenstarrecycling.com. Get involved, get empowered, get some help to bring recycling to your community. Or if you're already in a community that GreenStar Recycling services, get more involved and get our recycling rates up. Matt Delnick, you're one of the leading entrepreneurs and ecopreneurs in the sustainability revolution, and truly living proof that green is good.